Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today is going to be a lot of fun. So a few weeks ago, if you guys remember, I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and I joined the new Era Bourbon Club, a Discord group that I'm a part of, on a barrel pick that they were doing at River Roots. River Roots is an NDP, a non-distilling producer, where they source all their whiskeys primarily from Jim Beam, Heaven Hill, and MGP. And I've already done a few reviews on River Roots, and I love River Roots. So I've tried the Reaper, which is absolutely incredible. I've done a short on Naughty or Nice, which also was really, really good. And so I was really excited to go on this barrel pick that the new Era Bourbon Club was nice enough to invite me to. And at this barrel pick, we picked a really cool bourbon from Jim Beam. So this bourbon is 10 years, 3 months old, 119.56 proof, barrel 807. And if you remember in the vlog that I did, I talked about this one as being much more like creme brulee forward with a nice nuttiness, nice oak presence, and really being delicious. And in fact, this was a barrel that we were talking about. If we don't get this exact barrel, we probably shouldn't get a barrel at all at River Roots. We were that serious about this one being that good. And so I'm really excited to share it with you guys here today. It finally came in. I think the labeling is super, super cool. This labeling was done by Alpha and John, so really, I think they just absolutely killed it. An absolutely gorgeous bottle. I'll zoom in on it for you guys. And now this is called the Ronin, and in Japanese here it says Bourbon Killer. So really cool. I think it wanted to compete with the Reaper over here and kind of design that kind of really cool, scary looking bottle. I don't know, but I really like it, and I'm really excited because I may or may not have a couple of backups as well. So I'll get to enjoy the first barrel pick that I got to join for hopefully the next few years. But let's try it here with you guys today, and let's just see how good it really is. On the nose here, definitely getting a nice brown sugar creme brulee note on this. There's a good amount of oak, good amount of vanilla. Definitely some strong baking spices on this. Overall, smells Jim Beam, but not as much nuttiness. There's going to be a little bit of almond in this, but not a whole lot. Really, the best characteristic of this is going to be that brown sugar, and a little bit of caramel as well. There is a nice amount of sweetness on this. Let's try it. Oh my god. That palate is so much better than the nose. So, it begins with a really nice burnt sugar, creme brulee sweetness on there. Which, when people say creme brulee, they really just mean burnt sugar. According to a good buddy of mine named T. Corcher that was at the barrel pick and made this comment when we were trying this bottle of whiskey. So it starts with that nice burnt sugar, and then it really gets into a nice oakiness, and then a nice nuttiness towards the end and some baking spice. There's a lot of punch on this one. Now, this is a neck pour, and so we'll see how the bottle develops over the course of the next few months, and honestly, years. I have 4 bottles of this, and I don't really plan to drink them that quickly, so I really hope I get to enjoy them for many years to come, because it was just such an amazing experience, such a blessing to be a part of. But man, it's really good whiskey, too. I think on the nose, there isn't that much more going on this. I think you have the sweetness there, the burnt sugar, that's really the strongest note on here, the like burned brown sugar on it. And then you have a little bit of nuttiness and an almond, walnut. And then you have some caramel, some baking spice, a good amount of oak and vanilla. Overall, I think it's really those characteristics playing together. It's not really opening up to a ton of fruit. And I will say, I typically like a lot of fruit on my whiskey, and Jim Beam just doesn't tend to have a lot of fruit on their whiskeys, except for a very few Booker's batches. And so I'm usually not a big Jim Beam fan. And so this is really blowing me away, the fact that this is Jim Beam, and I'm enjoying it this much. Let's take a second sip. I'm trying not to be biased with you guys because I was on this barrel pick, but there's a reason why there was a unanimous decision. That kind of burnt sugar mixed in with like a nice Booker's profile here is something I just don't get on the Booker's batches, where I'm getting so much sweetness. It's not actually only in the beginning of the palate. On this sip, it was much more throughout the pour. So there's a burnt sugar throughout. There's this nice like burnt brown sugar. Then you have a nuttiness, you have an oakiness on there. There's still vanilla on there. I think the finish here is about medium length, which I think is very solid. Now, this bottle was $125, so it's not the cheapest whiskey in the world, but River Roots, their prices are just amazing. The Reaper and Naughty or Nice are 2 of the best ryes on the market. Frankly, I think they're the 2 best ryes on the market under $125, and they're both $90, which says a lot, that there isn't a single whiskey I don't think is better until maybe Nashville Barrel Company's sourcing at around $150. Like these kinds of, like this bottle right here, I mean, this is a bourbon, but they do make a lot of really nice ryes, but they're also about $150. So I think it is just an incredible bottle, incredible deal. I think if you're ever in Ohio or you know any friends in Ohio that can get you bottles of it, they're usually sitting at the gift shop, and so really amazing. But anyways, this bottle is $125, a little bit more expensive, probably because, you know, they have to do a little bit more work and they do the labeling with us and stuff like that, so it kind of makes sense, a little bit more expensive. But it's just so good. And over time, I will say on the nose, the nuttiness is opening up a little bit more. So I still think that burnt brown sugar is the strongest note on here, but I think the walnut is becoming much more strong. I think it's probably the second strongest element right now. There's still the caramel, there's still the vanilla, there's still the oak, but honestly, it's not as oaky as it was, at least on the nose. Let's take this third and final sip here and let's give it a rating. It's a great bottle of whiskey. It's really a lot of the good elements that I get out of Booker's, but with a nice sweetness in it that makes me like it a lot more than any Booker's batch I've had. Obviously, I do wish there was a little bit of red fruit on this. Like, this is pretty much pure brown sugar and nuttiness and oakiness and vanilla, and there isn't any cherry or plum or anything like that. You guys know I love my plum in my whiskeys, but that's okay. I think for what it is, it's doing it really, really well. I think for a whiskey that's going to give you a ton of sweetness, but not the kind of fruity sweetness that I think a lot of people do like myself, but a sweetness that's much more in that brown sugar, burnt sugar, creme brulee realm, I think this is really a hitter. I think this is a stellar bottle of whiskey. I'll actually finish this here with you guys since I have it. That's great. That's great. I don't want to be biased in my rating. I'm going to give this an 8.2. I think when I was at the pick, I rated it an 8.3, so you guys can tell I'm being reasonable. I think, you know, really sitting with the pour and it being one of my first pours of the day. 8.2 I think is very fair. I think this is a great bottle of whiskey for $125, an amazing deal. I'm so happy I have backups of this because while I say that I'm not going to drink it that quickly and try to enjoy it over the course of the next few months and years, I don't know how much longer this bottle will last. It's pretty hard not to want to bring this one to bourbon drops and groups and stuff like that, so anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.